as long as you take initiative to like test what you are going to launch in phases so that you're not like over investing in something that does not have any demand. And that's the approach I would take to ensure a successful launch in business.
In this episode, we will learn all that we need to know about reaching our goals and starting a business from the director of product management at Kajabi. She's a repeat founder who raised more than $2 million and successfully sold a company, Vibely, to creator powerhouse Kajabi. Welcome to the show, Teri. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. And I love that you're thinking of Kajabi as the creator powerhouse, because not a lot of people know that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it's indeed a powerhouse, and it's outside from you, from Vibely, becoming Kajabi right now. That's awesome. Thank you so much for what you do in the creative space, and for matching colors with me today. Also, I'm looking for.
I know.
I'm so
I can't
excited
believe we
about that.
matched.
Yeah, it's
Totally
yellow.
unintentional.
Exactly. So if you are listening to this on audio, go check it out on YouTube and see us matching. When wonderful. Our yellow is honestly better than mine, but for sure we are vibing in colors right now.
No, I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yes. So I mean, I'm so excited that you're here for a Soulful Conversation. I'm looking forward to learning so much from you. But I would just love to learn, a little bit from your background, as a previous viral YouTube creator to becoming a repeat founder. Like, can you share how that journey was like for you and how it all started?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started, I was a early product manager at Asana. That's a project management software that a lot of people know and love. Started by the co-founder of Facebook, Dustin Moskovich, and Jasmine Rosenstein, who was like employee number 20 there. But it was an amazing experience. I learned a lot about building product and kind of the different A/B testing, experimentation, and instrumentation you use to create great product experiences. And one element that I learned during that time was just from reading about all the best practices in the industry, not necessarily from Asana itself. One of the metrics that people care about is dwell time and session time. Like, how much time are you spending on tech? And so it's a big epidemic and a reason why most of us are really addicted to our phones and screen time. So a company like TikTok, they're constantly optimizing that algorithm so that you spend more time watching videos, which is good for them and good for the ads they serve, but it's not good for our mental health. And so when I started to see that this was heading in a direction that I didn't like personally, I wanted to create a space where we really had meaningful social interaction in a way that wasn't done by traditional tech platforms. So at that time, with that mission that I really cared about, I started to experiment on the side a bit and then jumped off and just started Vibely. So that was a little bit about the origins of the mission. But community itself has always been a big passion of mine. When I was a child, I grew up in various like communities. One of them was like super religious. My parents were Christian, and then they were also in the Taiwanese American Association. And so it was always really important to me to have like no single point of failure, like having everyone be able to support each other. And so that also like really paved the way for how I thought about starting a community platform for people to have those meaningful social interactions, and specifically led by creators. So after we iterated a bunch and we launched with a few Facebook groups, we really noticed the trend that creators were front and center of hosting these amazing experiences, and they needed tools to be able to have their members interact with each other, take action together, create those like IRL meetups as well. So that's a little bit about the like reason why I took the leap.
Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing that. And you mentioned of something that I also find very important, and that is community. And I would just love us to jump into that already. Like it's very important for us to have community. I also grew up. I'm also like in the kind of community settings, basically. Like you have the religious settings, you have the social settings, like community, basically, or just regular secular communities too. And in the online space also, we need that community basically also. So from your experience as a creator and also as the director of product management, how do you create like successful online community that is healthy and that is also good for you as a creator?
Yeah, so communities will take time to build. The most important parts are your engagement. So making sure that you are there, especially early on, to be sparking these discussions, like building it in a way where people feel responded to, their questions are being answered. You know, a lot of the seeding of an initial community is just that initial engagement. We've seen really successful creators have exclusivity embedded into the beginnings of a community. So you would have some amount of founding members who join in, who you have more time to spend personal touches with. So let's say your founding members, you have 10 of them, you launch the community. Now you're able to give them that like one-on-one time. They are able to develop more intimate connections. The exclusivity also drives people to want to be part of that community long term. So it's a really good strategy in general to get people interested from scarcity. And then once that's successful, opening those doors to make it incrementally more and more powerful, where more and more people can join, more people are seeing conversations. As it grows, one powerful tactic is to also give more and more ownership to your community members. And so when you're noticing certain members step up, one of the things you can do is give them like that title of maybe an ambassador or a, manager of the community, and they will feel more ownership and more spend their time to make the community better, which is only going to make the community stronger. And so creating that kind of like hierarchy sometimes can be really powerful as well. And then as your community continues to grow, showing a lot of social proof to show the community like how others are using it and getting utility from it, as well as attracting new members with social proof, is really important. So let's say a community member comes to you and is like, I love this community. It's so great. Like this, I've gotten new business partners from it already. Like you want those stories to be loud and heard. And so if you post it on socials, or if you like have an IG post, or you share it back into the original community, those are all ways for you to create more and more momentum for the community to thrive.
That's good. Yes. So it's like engaging the community members also and promoting their work also. And if they come with some feedback, yeah, appreciating their feedback in terms of sharing with everybody in public also.
Yes, exactly.
I love that. I love that. And how are you able to then, like for example, build connection? Like, do you have to build like a personal connection with them? Or, when you have a big community, for example, even when it's successful to build a community of thousands of people, how do you keep that connection in check? Like, not just seeing numbers, but seeing like, oh, this is Toby and Terry, this is Toby and Jordan, this is Toby and this person.
Yeah. So as your community grows, you can lean into what you're seeing is really resonating with them. So if some of them are enjoying like accountability, like is there a way for you to create accountability groups and spin off like subsegments in which they would have more of that with more intimate like settings? Or if you're seeing them really excited about, learning and taking on new challenges, is there a challenge that you can release where they can participate with others who are also interested in the same challenge, whether that's like 30 days of content creation or 7 days of meditation, whatever. So it kind of unites people around that activity. Another way to do it is if you see them like being really excited about meetups and like you're seeing in the conversation, like lots of people are like, does anyone live in LA? Does anyone live in like Arizona? Does anyone live in Tokyo, Germany? You can connect people based off of where they're from just by creating sub segments of cities. And so whether they're the ones creating it or you are, one of the tools that we have in our platform was you could spin it into individual chapters. And so then people could join them, have like connections that mean the most to them and are the most relevant to them in their area. So that continues to like grow the closeness of the network nodes without having it be like increasingly like less like in touch with each other.
That's good. Yeah. So like, listening to the community, to the people there, and knowing what they need, maybe meet up, or trying to find out the best way to create that bond with them. Yeah, I like that. And from my experience as a creator, when you were studying YouTube, how are you able to, like, scale up that business or scale up that creativity of yours to be able to earn a living sustainably?
Yeah, so most creators today don't make a sustainable living just from content creation itself. I think only 2% of YouTubers like get close to any like getting paid at all. And then we have like Patreon creators as a very like top heavy platform. I think Kajabi, the reason why I joined was it's one of the only companies that has a legitimate like monetization model for creators. And so the majority of active creators on the platform make money. The We've powered over 5 billion in revenue for creators and work with all kinds, whether the, more niche, like smaller audience creators, and entrepreneurs, like, one of my friends, a real estate agent, and she is like a very high earner in the last quarter. Her name is Jenny Locke, and she's built like a real estate empire of different like real estate agents kind of helping each other, teaching each other. It's a really amazing program you should check out. But then we also have like the mega celebrities like Jay Shetty and Matt Stefanina, who's like a 12 million YouTuber, or Blogilates with 8 million. So there's all across the spectrum, but every creator is kind of taking the business into their own hands and monetizing through coaching, community, podcasts, memberships, you name it. And so as long as you take initiative to like test what you are going to launch in phases so that you're not like over investing in something that does not have any demand. I think that's the approach I would take to ensure a successful launch in business.
Pause, take a break, reflect on life, enjoy some positive mirror talk.
Yeah. So approaching you, for example, in Kajabi could be a very wonderful idea, actually, to scale up that business, to be able to make a living. Because I have this belief that a lot of creative people are out there, but they don't know what to do to take what they are creating and make it monetized, or to make a profit out of it. Or then
Yeah.
creating this, yeah, having this kind of information like, oh, Kajabi is there for you, then that could be.
Yeah, it's hard because as a creator, your passion is to create, right? Like that is your expertise. It's to think of amazing ideas and like to create some things that bring people joy and make people laugh and make people feel inspired and learn new things. But it's not always like one-on-one with monetizing. And so what Kajabi aims to do is to give these creators all the tools that they need to easily set up in seconds their business. And so now you can monetize through all these different digital products that are really scale and make sure that like you're not spending too much time thinking about inventory management as you would with merch. And then it just really empowers the creator to like reach their audience and like offer different digital products to them in seconds. So landing page, email marketing, all that is integrated and just really quick for a creator to set up.
Oh yeah, that's good. I'm going to ask you later on, before the end of this episode, to know the best way to reach out to you, for creators out there who are interested to, maybe sign up or whatever. That'll be very interesting. But
So
one thing you mentioned before we started recording, and one thing that from our conversation right now, talking about your passion as a creator is to, for example, to create, to do that thing that you're passionate about. Then you have to think about the monetization part of it, then think about the marketing part of it, and think about all of that. It's
yeah.
so overwhelming sometimes, and it could lead to burnout sometimes. And I know you must have experienced this maybe a couple of times, or even more than a couple of times before. So how are you able to, from your own experience, deal with burnout, or deal with, exhaustion?
Yeah. So burnout is a common problem and it permeates not just like the creator world, but also entrepreneurs in general. I was very burnt out after grinding for 5 years straight and not really having a life or any hobbies and just always working on my computer. I think burnout there's some ways to mitigate it and there's some ways to assuage it as well. So in mitigation, I think taking a more balanced approach than I did could be more sustainable. So instead of like going hard, hustling at 100% all the time, you can take time to like enjoy the small moments, like take a 1 week, 2 week break of like, just if you're really caught up with stuff, to like sit on a tropical beach for a little bit and kind of like gain some clarity and like release your mind. I think what I've learned is that our brains are all like, we need variety. And as much as we can create moments of like contrast, our brain tends to work better in each space. So I think having that mentality is good. And then there's the act of like mitigating it once it's done, once you actually have burnout. I'd say mitigating, there are a few strategies you could really, or sorry, yeah, mitigating it, you would basically take time to like decompress as well. But I think one particular way is to just like exercise, to really exercise your mind, let yourself go outside, like do things that are different from what you're constantly looking at or doing. And then I think at the point where you really just burnt out and you're done, finding like a lot of group accountability and sessions can help with like your mind, like reducing the burnout feeling, and like talking to a therapist could be really important to help you work out things. There's a lot of different strategies to managing burnout, but it's not an easy problem to solve by any means. Like I think it happens in any industry. The best you can do is just take care of yourself, like continue to journal, be grateful, like find ways to let your thoughts flow and like give yourself the room to breathe. It doesn't need to be like a very, intense comeback or anything like that. Like don't put pressure on yourself.
Yeah, I like that. Do not put pressure on yourself. Yeah. Listen to your body and know what to do, to let go or blow off that steam or let go of that stress. Be grateful for where you are. That's one thing that you said I'm going to take home with also. Be grateful and journal also. I've been hearing a lot about journaling. I honestly still now have not been able to journal as effectively as I'm supposed to, but I know it's really helpful to just put pen on paper and just write things down and then let go of things that you could let go of. Things that are not in your control also, just let go of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
journaling is like a great tool. I mean, your brain needs to be able to let the ideas and thoughts and processes out at the end of the day, and bottling it up is not good. So if like finding a therapist is a way, and like talking it through is the way to do it, or just even grabbing a friend and like workshopping and brainstorming with them through the problem, or even journaling and just staying grateful and writing it down. These are all devices for us to make sense of the feelings that we have, which need to be resolved. We're human after all.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. So Terry, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I really appreciate it. One thing I would love to switch to right now is, taking all of that creativity to the next step of wanting to start up a business, like you did also with Vibe. So I don't know if you could just walk us through that process, like from your own example, for example. What's the process like, building up a successful startup from scratch? How did you go about it?
So I think of a startup as a series of validation points that brings more and more like followers into the business as you build it up. So when you start out, it might be hard to convince like a co-founder or a couple teammates to join, but you got to find those people, right? So you could email people to like let them know of the opportunity, pitch them, use like persuasion sales essentially to like get them on board. If no one is open to it, the way to do it is to find more proof points, so data or evidence to kind of validate your pitch or your argument. And so I always encourage entrepreneurs to go like find ways to validate through creating like Instagram accounts and getting more visibility through existing platforms, or creating a Facebook group and seeing if there are people who are interested in the like hypothesis or the problem that you're trying to solve or the solution that you're offering. Maybe you could talk to 100 of your friends and like collect their thoughts around a prototype or an idea or a design you might have to show them. And let's say 89% of those people like it, you have at least one data point to talk to and bring to someone else who you're trying to convince to come on board. You could also set up a landing page and run like Facebook ads or actually advertise it essentially before it's even built to see how many people are interested in it. And then let's say you get 1,000 signups, right? You can bring that to your teammate and convince them to join that way. That was actually how we kind of started on the Vibely's front in terms of finding the right teammates. I had a landing page that was something we hadn't built yet, but something that we were planning to build. I released it and, I distribute it in different communities and Facebook groups. Reddit's a great place too. And then I got like enough signups. I think we had maybe like 100 signups, something very tangible, small, but that was enough for me, like engineers or different teammates, and actually tell them like, we already have 100 signups, 100 people have indicated interest. That goes really far because it shows that it's not just an idea, which, 1 million people have. It's actually like there's some momentum and legs behind it. And so showing as many of those as you can along the way can help. Once you have the validation points, you could also bring those to investors, right? And kind of bring them into the story, help them believe and become supporters of that. And by the end of like this entire experience where you just keep raising more money, you keep building more and more teams, you keep building more product, have more customers who also are believing, that's when you have these like 10 billion plus companies who are, now the customers, like CEO is to be the chief evangelist. You are literally the one that people are believing every step along the way. And so having that conviction when you're trying to pitch someone or having those data points and validation areas can really help your argument.
Pause, take a break, reflect on life, enjoy some positive mirror talk.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's very good. I mean, you have to, create those pitches and, encourage people to like sign up and, get feedbacks from people basically. And how do you then deal with, with, how will I say it, negative feedbacks, for example, or with no's? How do you deal with no's when you go pitch a business or an idea and the investors or potential investors tell you no? How do you deal with that?
Yeah. So I think feedback is really important to finding product market fit. Every company needs to listen and like be self-aware enough to recognize that you don't have the answers to everything. And when your customers or your other like partners, like investors are telling you something, it may have merit. So I say it may have merit because there's two types of feedback. One is real like customer driven feedback where they are the customer and they are telling you that this is not right or this needs to be like, this is a problem that they have. I would look for problem driven or problem oriented feedback. So when, for example, let's say you made a croissant, someone bites it and says it's too hard, right? That's a problem that they are experiencing while eating the croissant. So solving that problem is very much worth it. There also are solution oriented points of feedback, which are like, this croissant needs to be, red colored instead of brown.
Mm-hmm.
That is good to know, but oftentimes you want to dig deeper into the problem to understand how to solve it, because you're most responsible for thinking about how to make that product successful. Your customer often, or any partner, only has like one lens through that they're looking at it through. When you dig into the problem of like, oh, they're saying that they want a red croissant because they just don't like how our croissant looks. Like that is the problem that you want to solve. And there are numerous ways to solve it, not just making it a red croissant. So when you are listening to your customer, I think that can be the most important feedback that you need to hear and process and figure out how to solve the problems that they're experiencing. The second piece of feedback that you'll often get is from like investors or external partners. I think that I take with more grains of salt not because they're not smart people. They all are very like well-read. They know a lot about the space. I think there's things about like the competition and the landscape and the ecosystem that they can really advise you on. But if they are not your customer, it's harder for them to give like genuine feedback from your customer's point of view, right? Like they would need to project and speculate. And part of that is going to be risky to listen to. So in general, I would listen to your customer more and then listen to problems more than solutions.
Listen to problems more, more than solutions. I like that. I like that. So once you listen to more problems, you will to know what solution you could find for them, and solution orientation or being solution oriented could drive in more revenue for you or drive in more income for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But Terry, like for example, if I'm just, right now on my own and I'm having, thousands of ideas flowing through my head, how can I be able to evaluate if this idea or that idea is the right one for a business?
Yes. So I think picking an idea is difficult because I know we all have like a lot of ideas in our head. It comes down to a few things. Number one is to think about the sector. So there's something called founder market fit, where people who build businesses that scratch their own itches are often more successful. So are you your own customer? Do you know this space better than other people? That can be an advantage that helps you succeed. Of course, it's not necessary. We do see founders all the time who start something that they were completely not in the industry, but it definitely can help. The second and most important is like passion. So can you see yourself doing this or solving this problem for the rest of your life, if not for at least like 10 years? The problem you solve is really important because like if you don't love solving that, you will end up giving up. So for example, in college, I started a Netflix for costumes. It was called Stoom Room. It was basically a way to like have costumes at, and be able to rent it, not waste all that like clothing that's being bought and worn once. I started around our college campus at USC. I got tired of it after 2 or 3 months. I wasn't passionate about costumes as an industry, but I don't think I was also like my last calling was also not to solve like the sustainability of clothing either. Like I'm not that interested in clothing. And so like my energy level quickly fluttered out. So it's important to figure out what you could spend your time doing. Like what do you genuinely care about? When you contrast it to Vibely, where I was very passionate about community, where it was literally how I could see myself spending the rest of my life. I didn't think I could be happy without community myself. So those are things that meant a lot to me, that kept me going through all the hard times, the lows. Like it's an emotional roller coaster. So if you're not passionate, you're not going to make it through. And then the third I would say is just like the trends and waves. So think about the macros, because oftentimes founders can be very successful when they have a wave that they ride off of. And vice versa. Let's say you are fighting against the grain and it's not a wave that's trending right now. You are going to be fighting uphill battles constantly, which is not only going to dampen your energy, but it also makes it less likely for you to seize luck. So a wave right now, for example, is AI, right? This is a massive gold rush, like fundamental changes of how we think about workflows, how we think about tool sets, how we process our everyday. It's going to change the future landscape of jobs and just like super valuable from the get-go. I very much believe that like I don't buy into hype cycles as much, like Web3 or NFT. Like I know that's going to be successful potentially one day, but I think AI is really at a point where it's a pivotal moment for our like humans in tech. So I would lean into that. Like, what kind of new businesses are there that you can build around AI, or how can you incorporate AI to solve a pain point that you're passionate about? There's a lot of different ways to leverage this existing tech, but if you were to ride that wave, like you would have more of a chance of succeeding than say if you were building for something that nobody cares about anymore. Like, I don't know, like a new like way to field in farms or something. Like maybe that would have been cool, 10 years ago when it was actually right for innovation. But, AI is a place right now where everyone's thinking about, and there's a lot of energy towards building.
Yeah. Okay. One thing I'm going to go back to that, really stood out to me was when you talk about passion. Like, I learned from that statement that passion is the motivation that I need to reach my goals. Like, if I'm not passionate about something, I might not reach that goal I'm trying to get with that business or the idea that I have in my head. Yeah. And also then also looking at it, like last thing you said also, about looking at the trend of things. Like, okay, my idea I'm having right now, is it going to solve any issue that we're having right now? Like, is it going to work hand in hand with AI, for example, and solve some issues that we have with with the artificial intelligence world? Or then idea that could have worked 10 years ago and today it's no longer relevant?
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't even have to be AI. It could just be a problem that you're seeing that is increasingly becoming a problem. For
Yeah.
example, like our addiction to tech. Like I knew and saw that was like happening, that more and more people were having mental health issues, suffering from depression, more teenage suicides than ever before. And so that is a problem that would increasingly need help. And so that's where I really invested my energy, and it did pay off. So it could just be any kind of problem that you are personally seeing, that you're passionate about, that is expanding as a trend as well.
As well. So Terry, for example, let's imagine right now that in this course of conversation, we've already built up a successful business. It's blooming, it's flourishing, and then we've gotten to a point right now in this conversation that we're thinking about pivoting or selling the business, like sold viably to Kajabi. How do you know the best time to say, let's go of my baby, let it fly, let it go away, or let me embrace it tightly and just keep on pushing it because I love it so much?
Yeah. So it's really important in a startup to stay resilient. It's the number one factor of success. I'm definitely not smarter, more connected, have more money than anyone else. It's just that I have a very strong amount of resiliency, and that got me through all the hard points, the troughs, the lowest points where you question yourself, the business, like where everything is on fire, everything is like not going to work. You have to continue to get through it. Now, when do you pivot and know that is when do you pivot versus like sell? So I think you pivot when you see that something is not working, and it is definitely okay and good to pivot. Like if you've tried a lot of things, it's not working, you experimented, what the market is trying to tell you is that that's not potentially where you should invest your energy. And so pivoting to another concept or idea can be really good for the business. Like it's an opportunity for you to seize what you have been seeing in your current business as more of a new direction. So I have a founder friend who creates like 20 apps and basically knows with his team that, 18 of the 20 will fail and not have any traction, but the two that do may go somewhere, right? So they go in with the mentality that like not everything's going to hit, but some amount of things will, which is really, really powerful because now you have the ability to like jump and see where the trends are and really capitalize on them as much as possible. The time when you know to sell is when it's based off of two factors. The first is your personal energy level in the team. If you haven't spent a considerable amount of time trying to solve the problem, trying to experiment, trying to pivot, you probably are giving up too early. It takes time to figure anything out. I would say in the realm of like sometimes at least a year, sometimes 2 years, sometimes 5 years, sometimes like longer. So if you haven't spent enough of your energy, it's probably your energy level or the time that you spent rather than any signal of your product market fit. But if you have and you've turned over every rock and your personal energy level is down because you spent so much time trying to figure it out already and still not getting anywhere, that could be a time to think about either shutting down the company or selling whatever is available to you. when we were doing Vibely, like we were actually at a good point. We were growing at 65% year over year. We were on track to make 6 million in annual revenue. And so it was a good time for the business. And we did have a lot of like M&A interest at the time. So I explored the risk reward of continuing versus stopping. And we actually did get a Series A term sheet at that time as well to continue. So we could decide to keep going at that point. But I knew that we had been grinding for 5 years. I knew that there were challenges of the company that were still ahead of us that took a lot of personal energy and work to get to, plus the fact that I was already burnt out. And so with all that, I decided the right thing at the time was to exit the company, especially with all the offers we had. And yeah, but everyone's journey is so different. It just really depends on your energy, where the market is, like what challenges you are facing, and like how much time you spent to try to solve them. Did you already try to pivot? Did you already try to do different things? Like, don't let yourself fail because you didn't have enough resilience.
Mm. Oh, that's something one should write down. Do not allow yourself to fail because you didn't have any resilience. Yeah, yeah. And one thing else that you said that is really stuck with me, or is still sticking with me, is basically you need time to figure it out. It might be a year, it could be 2 years, 3 years, it could be more. But give yourself that time, that resilience to try different things out and see that, yes, I really gave my best and I invested the
Yeah.
time I needed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And if you give it your absolute all during that time, there is no way that you can fault yourself. There's actually so much opportunity and so much learnings that you've probably had during that time that sets you forward in your next step. And so everyone should try and put in their all, because if you do, you're gaining so much knowledge, so much experience, so much like future like signal for what you should be doing that's so powerful that can help you succeed in your next step. Like, it's never a bad thing to try and fail. And I'm very used to failing, which is why I have been able to get to a point of success. It's the same for everyone. You can't succeed without multiple failures.
You can't succeed without multiple failures. Wow. Yeah, it's very difficult to say, but yeah, it is the truth. And that's the way you find success, right? You have to go through different phases of no's, different phases of people denying you, different, phases of failure basically, and then at a point you find success.
Yeah, that's right. And I think the difference between me and other people is that I've probably been rejected over, tens of thousands of times, whereas a normal person may have been rejected like a couple hundred times in their life. Like,
That's
I have
true.
no problem shooting out an email, not getting a response, sending out another email, not getting a response, like sending out 10,000 emails, not getting responses. Like, that is just part of business.
Yeah, and that shows a lot of resilience that you have, basically. Not everyone has
Yeah.
that kind of patience and resilience.
I learned that from my mom, just seeing, her come to the US when I think she was around her 30s. She had very broken English. We were really poor. She had no connections, nothing. But what she did was she didn't spend time like crying herself or playing victim. She just started to look for work and went door to door asking people if they needed haircuts, if they needed a babysitter. These people were probably like, "Who are you?" Like, I can't even understand what you're saying, but she did it, and I saw her rise from someone who was a nobody to she became a real estate agent and the president of the community that she serves. And so I've literally learned from my mom, just seeing like how when you're fearless, when you just take things by the reins and just go, you can actually make a lot of incredible things happen. So I am sure that everyone who's listening is in a better position than my mom was and can make amazing things happen if they just tried. Sometimes doing things like rejection therapy can help too, where you go out there, you kind of push yourself to have people say no to you enough where you're desensitized to it. So by the 100th time you get someone saying no to you, it just rolls off your back. You don't really care and you don't take it personally. That's just literally how life works.
Yeah, that's how life works. Yeah. Wow, Terry, I've learned so much from you from this conversation, and thanks so much for even shedding more light on where you got that resilience from. That's so much appreciated. For people, for people out there who will still love to reach out to you, maybe ask you more questions, especially about Kajabi. For creators out there who want to, take make use of the services that you offer, what's the best way to connect with you? What's the best way to work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just started a YouTube channel where I am actually teaching some of the lessons, the frameworks, the mistakes that I've made over time. It's the Teri Yu as a handle. But if you want to just ask me questions, talk about Kajabi, talk about the entrepreneurial experience, you can also Instagram DM me. And it's a very professional handle. It's teriyaki chicken, but very easy to remember. So anyone who, if you do have a question out there, if you do need some advice, feel free to reach out and I'll do my best to get to it and make sure, you have some support along the way.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I will place the information in the show notes of this episode. So I encourage everyone out there to just click on the links, copy the links, and reach out to Terry. And just even if it's just to watch the videos on YouTube, that could be enough also. And reach out also if you have to, ask further questions. Thank you so much, Terry. I really appreciate this. I learned so much from this conversation. I don't know if you have any last word you would love to share, something that is just on your mind right now that you still want to drop before we end this conversation.
Yeah, I think for anyone who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, a founder, like taking the leap, I think if you are passionate enough, you should just do it because you never know what you're going to learn. You never know what you're going to find. Like the worst is that you're going to, learn about a bunch of new skills, a bunch of new, new industries. Like there is so much opportunity if you just try. The only thing is I would just remember to validate along the way as much as you can. Like don't, take out a loan for $1 million and, invest it all into this product without doing more testing to make sure that, you're actually finding the right path. But everyone has it in them. You just have to stay resilient, find the passion area, and then you can make it.
Yes, you can make it. Just be resilient and just keep pushing at it. Thank you so much, Terry. I appreciate this. It was awesome speaking with you.
Likewise, Toby. It was so much fun.
Thank you very much.